Alright guys, what's up? Welcome to Daily Dose of Reddit. This is your host, Zach, and today's subreddit is r/ProRevenge. Wow! Alright, this story's called, Give My Hours Away to a New Hire? I'll leave you at the store to close yourself, misfile paperwork, and get you fired. I've been lurking on here for a while and finally wanted to post this. Formatting is going to be messy on mobile. This is a long one. Stick around for the juice. I like juice. This happened a couple months ago at an old employer. I worked at a supermarket in my state throughout high school and while in college in the United States, making $9 to start and only $10.50 at the end. The store had one store manager, two assistant store managers, one manager and assistant manager per department, which there were 9 departments. For 5 years, I worked every position there because who knew what hiring was, right? Understaffing was a regular here, so if a department needed closing and I worked, I had to close it. From stocking to register to manager's duties, everything was game. My biggest acknowledgements were being a bookkeeper, our terms of the person who keeps track of all the money. Monitor, glorified cashier, basically wrangle the regular cashiers and divvy up cash drawers to each register. Service desk, cigarettes, lottery, customers, bullcrap, and store opener and closer. There were 5 people who knew bookkeeping, 2 other people besides me, and the 2 managers who ran the front end of the store. There were about 5 monitors who all needed to be trained on service desk as well. Every monitor and bookkeeper needed to know how to open the store and close it. For being a supermarket in a town with about 20,000 people, we were severely understaffed. I worked 12 to 16 hour shifts at least once a week because people would call off all the time. Keep all this in mind for later on. Backstory. I started working here at 16 in high school, originally as a stock person. 25-hour work weeks, eventually moved up to 35-plus-hour work weeks. Moved up to register, then monitor, then service desk, and finally bookkeeping when I turned 18, now 21. Hey, same. The hours were always good. Never had a week drop below 35 hours at least, but it all changed because of some schlonghead. At the start of ProRevenge, I was working while in college, so all these guidelines had to be followed. Everyone needed their toilet paper and hand sanitizer to keep COVID away. No biggie. On top of the guidelines, we also had been hiring copious amounts of people. This store had a history of training new hires with other people who had been working for maybe a month or so. So as you could guess, training was a disaster. But since ProRevenge had the store busy all the time, we needed more people. I wanted to train people the right way because I got sick of doing other people's jobs. In March, we had gotten 4 new hires to train for my position. Now, these new hires needed training on the service desk. Easy. Let them run it while I watched and helped them out the best I could. Easiest way to get people to learn. Most of them needed trained on here because there were 3 of us total at the time who could run it. After training everyone, 1 per shift at a time over 4 weeks, there were 7 people now ready to screw up the world. But everyone who knew how to run the service desk needed training on monitor too. Guess who had to train everyone for another position? Another 4 weeks of bullcrap. Everyone got trained. Around this time was the end of May. This is where the juice begins. The juice. Starting in June, we had been starting to lay off the hours since COVID-19 started to slow down. Hours started to get cut from all the register people, from about 20 to 30 hours a week to 10 hours max. We got overstaffed and people started quitting left and right. Not a big deal because those positions were easy to fill, but that's when my hours started getting cut. At the time, the one new hire who started in March, who we'll call Helen, had been getting really good hours. I'm talking about my hours. We had the same problem. College money, car money, the works and all. But then I got scheduled for 16 hours one week, and they got scheduled for over 35 hours. Not once since I was 18 did I get less than 35 hours. So I decided to confront the assistant manager who is in charge of scheduling. We'll call him Frank. Hey Frank, I noticed my hours got cut. What's happening?
I know. Everyone's hours are getting cut. I have to make room for everyone, you know?
I couldn't help but Notice that Helen is getting quite the hours, so you made room for her and no one else?
I was unaware of that. I'll get you some more hours next week.
The rest of the week was kind of boring since I was a workaholic. No one called me to cover shifts or anything. The following week, I asked around to see who covered any shifts last week, and it turns out that all the new hires got called first. That kind of pissed me off, but hey, can't do anything about it now. Later that day, I check my schedule and what do you know? The same 16-hour week. I was livid at this point. I should have been honored for my seniority there, not getting screwed over in hours. I went back to Frank and confronted him.
Hey, what the hell is this? I thought you'd be finding me hours this week. I can't live off of this. Well, it turns out that I couldn't find you hours. I tried calling. Bull crap, you tried calling me. Not a single person called me. Instead, all the new hires got called. What the hell, man? There's nothing I can do. You might have to just find another job.
This pissed me off beyond belief. I was ready to pop. But this is when my bright idea came into play. For a couple of days, I searched around for other supermarkets in my area offering jobs. After about a day of searching, I found a job paying double what I made now for the same qualifications. I gave them a ring and got an interview for the following week. The following day, I went into work for what I didn't know was my last shift and told Frank what was happening. Hey Frank, I just wanted to let you know I took your advice.
Advice? What do you mean finding another job?
You're a frickin' right. I hope you have fun. I will never forget the look on his face. Completely baffled. He didn't expect me to actually find another job so quickly. This is where my revenge began. Revenge. After I walked out of Schlonghead Frank's office, I went around doing my usual work. During every shift, a metric frick ton of paperwork needed to be processed in the computer in order to close the store correctly and set up bookkeeping for the next day. Fun fact, that day in particular was Snap Day. For those who don't know what that is, it's the day that government-funded food stamps arrive on everyone's EBT card monthly. That day, I decided to say screw paperwork and just don't do crap. I was quitting that day because my anger got the better of me. The store closes at about 12 a.m. and I walked out of that crap hole as free as can be. The next day, I woke up to find some really obnoxious and angry texts from coworkers. I completely disregarded them, unknowingly that they said I worked that morning. I went down to the supermarket to grab some things for my house, and as soon as I walked in the door, every ex-coworker of mine looked at me as if I had just passed on the floor. One of them pulled me aside. Let's call them George, and this happened.
What the heck, bro? I had to cover your shift this morning, and you have the balls to walk in here after that?
I don't work here anymore.
Step off.
I continued to get my groceries and talked to one of my closer ex-coworkers there about what had happened. As it turns out, Frank had no idea that the previous day was my last and that the entire front end of the store had gotten brutally screwed over. Since the store closed at 12 a.m. and no paperwork was filed, our corporate called the assistant manager, also in charge of making sure all the departments are closed correctly, and asked where all the paperwork was. No idea that I had not filed it. Frank had to go into the store over an hour away from him to file all the paperwork himself. Not only that, tons of violations were given to him because since none of the paperwork got done by the person closing, no one had a record of anything done at the store from the previous day. On top of everything, the amount of paperwork needed done was practically doubled since that day was Snap. As soon as the store manager heard about this, she was livid. After about a month, I was working my new job and heard some information about Frank. Apparently, he had to go into a meeting with our corporate bosses and the store manager. He had gotten fired from his position due to all of this and had not been able to get a letter of recommendation from that employer also. Sucks to suck, huh? incredible! I liked it. Also, a little bit of a I don't work here lady thrown in there, sprinkled in there with the I don't work here, George, step off, you know? Pretty cool stuff. Also, cool that you got a freaking better job, and also, respect your longtime employees. How about that? This story's called Get a Cheaper Babysitter? I was told to post this year. Not my last job, but the one before that went through a period wherein they required I wear a uniform. Basically, it was a dark blue button-up, or Oxford style. I ended up with 4 of the button-up and 3 of the Oxfords. Also, being in IT, I thought I looked more professional in khakis. I bet you can tell the location of this tale. I was in Wally World looking at the vending machine in the entryway when a woman came storming past me screaming at the poor door greeter that she was in a hurry, was paying someone to watch her kid, and needed something fast. I don't remember what, some cooking appliance that I'm not familiar with. Is it a toaster? I finally pick my drink, get my can, and head in to get my groceries. And the woman sees me and walks over waving and snapping and yelling to get my attention. This leads only to me looking at her like she was a nutter and raising one eyebrow. I need a toaster! I'm in a hurry since I'm paying that thief of a neighbor every half hour to watch my kid! So hurry up and get one for me! Someone thought Walmart was a full-service shop? I explained, somewhat rudely, that I don't work there. I'm not sorry. If you come stomping up to me, yelling and waving and making me consider punching you in the face a good way to not get hurt, I'm not a civil being. Don't try that game. You kids today hate working. Go get me toaster right this minute, or I will report you to management. Oh no, not management. Please, miss, don't report me. I'll go grab it right now. Apparently, she missed the sarcasm dripping from the words and waved me away. I ran off like I was in a hurry into the home appliance aisle, out the other side, down to the grocery aisle of the store, grabbed a shopping cart, and proceeded to get my groceries. Every 10 to 15 minutes, I'd run back over without the cart and ensure her I was looking, that it might be in the back somewhere. The magical in the back seemed to please her. I kept this going for the 2 hours it took me to get all of my food. Cold stuff last, naturally, then went to buy it at the register right near her. I made it a point to wave and click and snap to get her attention. She exploded and began screaming and cussing and stomping over, demanding to know what I was doing shopping instead of helping her. The poor cashier didn't know what to do and just set her light to flashing and got the hell out of there. I told you, I'm not an employee here. I'm trying to get my food and you've interrupted that process. Go away. Get me a manager! I'm gonna have you fired, and I'm going to have your boss fired! Tell you what, I'll call my boss. I want them here right now! A manager of some sort was talking to the cashier, one of the women who stand up front at the little not register thing. I called Mike, my boss at the repair shop, and explained I had an angry woman wanting to talk to him. Even without speakerphone, she heard him say, "Tell her to step off then," and hang up. That made everything better. Finally, one of the actual managers came up and tried calming the woman down to explain that I did not work there. Her harassing me was causing a scene, and he would be happy to take her to his office, bend over backward, and let her ream him verbally if it helped. Apparently it wouldn't, as she proceeded to call him a liar and slapped him hard enough to knock his glasses off. That's happened to me. It sucks. Now she was yelling at him. He was screaming at her and into his radio, and a cop was heading their way. I finally got the cashier to come back and begin ringing me up. And while the cop was arresting the woman for assault, I sat there apologizing to the girl about it all. The manager finally asked me why the woman was so mad at me, and I just told him she thought I worked there. I told her I didn't, and she assumed I was lying and apparently was waiting on me to get something for her. The cop had a partner, I guess, show up, and he took a statement from me outside, wherein I told him the whole story. Got me a slight chuckle, then a disapproving, "You know I can arrest you for disorderly conduct, right?" By this point, my ice cream was feeling pretty sloshy, so I went back in to get it replaced. The manager asked me if if I did anything to antagonize the woman, said no. The door greeter actually backed up my story and was verifying that I did tell the woman I wasn't an employee and got threatened for doing so. Got my new ice cream, went home, made tacos for dinner, and hoped I never saw that woman again. What the hell? Okay, that is freaking hilarious. What did he do to get threatened with disorderly conduct? Like, what? Or a charge for disorderly? English is hard. Alright, okay, so as I have done before, I'm going to do again. And also I saw some comments asking for some wholesomeness. And so today, I'm going to end our episode of ProRevenge with an Ask Reddit answer for what is the most wholesome thing your significant other said or did. And then, let's read this answer by Salsa Stark. I am a very hairy woman. Okay, well, that was a very wholesome answer, and, I'm just kidding. This is partly due to my ethnicity, but on top of that, I have PCOS, which is polycystic ovary syndrome, a side effect of which is excessive body hair. So, my whole post-puberty life has kind of been this battle against an ever-surging tide of thick black curlies from my eyebrows all the way down to my toes. I used to be pretty diligent about keeping up with my hair removal regimen, but in recent years, it's become less important to me to keep up with that. I still wax my mustache and such, but the rest of my body, I pretty much just let go unless I know I'm going to be around a bunch of people in a swimsuit or something like that. Anyway, my boyfriend has always reassured me that he doesn't care that much if I shave or wax, but I still felt a little self-conscious about it around him. Last winter, I was unwinding after an exhausting day and decided to take a hot bath. When boyfriend came home, I was still in the tub reading. We started talking about our days, and he paused to tell me how sexy I looked right then. I laughed and said, yeah, right. In all my hairy glory, he said, hell yeah, you're my sexy wolf girl. I know it's a little stupid thing, but something about him saying that made me feel more loved and accepted than I ever have with anyone. I've always been self-conscious about my body, and particularly about how hairy I am. So hearing that he found me sexy, hair and all, was a really incredible moment for me. That is so incredibly sweet. I don't know about you, but sometimes a little bit of cactus leg is a good thing, you know? Really efficient at scratching an itch. And trust me, there's definitely plenty of scratching going on when there's some stabilization on their legs going. Lots of scratching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode.